I am here.
Hey, everybody. We are all here. We were not sure if we were here, but we are here. I'm Leslyn from the Lipedema Project, and I'm here with my friends and colleagues. Gail, who is our community manager and is working really hard right now to get all the information that we want to give you links to. So we're not going to impose on her yet. And then I'm also here with my friend and colleague, Siobhan. Hi, Siobhan.
Hi, I'm the research specialist with the Lipedema Project. I'm currently fulfilling my research role in that I have the Metabolic Health Summit live stream up in the background.
Yes.
So if you see me glancing over, I'm looking at the chat.
And it's been quite a day. The Metabolic Health Summit is being held, I believe, in Florida this year. This is an organization with Dom D'Agostino and Angela Poff. They do all the researchy type stuff, but they have a couple of presentations about clinical applications of metabolic therapies and specifically like a ketogenic diet. And so this morning they had a bunch on mental health. They had a little bit on exogenous ketones. I think I was up at 5:30 starting to watch stuff this morning. It's been very, very good. Siobhan, any tidbits of things you want to share from that you've seen so far?
Yeah, I tuned in a bit later for the implementing ketogenic therapies, which I found really interesting. They had someone representing the neurological conditions like epilepsy, and then someone else representing more general metabolic health disorders like diabetes.
That was the two dietitians, Francesca Spritzler, and I forgot the other dietitian's name. But yes, that was a good.
I don't ever remember anybody's name.
Yes.
But then the most recent one that I've been watching is their panel on cancer. And that has been super interesting. And I've been fairly active in the online chat because it's like, wait, but this, because when you talk about anaerobic glycolysis, it's like, okay, this isn't like just some ancient past thing that happened when cells didn't have a lot of access to oxygen. We actually still do it to this very day whenever we get sick or are inflamed, because our immune cells will turn on anaerobic glycolysis, not only for proliferation, because it's a way to get really, really rapid energy, but also for a lot of their immune functionality, it comes into play. So I was in the chat like, wait, but the immune system, because that's another one of my pet topics.
I just saw that Sherry posted, she's in South Florida. She's also, I believe, a member of our tribe. And so, Sherry, that is where the Metabolic Health Summit is taking place right now. I think it's at the University of South Florida. So it's right near you. It is live streaming as well as it's an in-person event.
Also, I did see the staff in the chat saying that the recordings of the sessions are available pretty quickly after the sessions have completed. They said it could be within a couple hours to the next day. And then those recordings are available until the end of February. So if you didn't have a chance to go, or you just didn't want to travel or whatever, you can still sign up for the live stream access and then get access to those recordings.
And then
there's lots of really good stuff. Unfortunately, I had a scheduling conflict, so I couldn't go this year in person, but I didn't want to miss any of the sessions.
But tell them what you're doing instead of, you're also still contributing to this event, Siobhan. So what are you doing at this event from afar?
Yes, so so participating virtually, but tomorrow they have the virtual poster session, and we submitted a poster for the use of ketogenic diets for lipedema that I'll be kind of hosting like a Q&A type of thing tomorrow for anybody who looks at the poster and has questions or wants to know more about lipedema or ketogenic diets or anything like that. Yes, Gail.
Yeah. Yes,
okay, so I know.
She raises her hand just like a good teacher.
So for those of us who have never been to one of these things, tell me what a poster is.
Oh yeah, that's a great comment.
So,
yes.
Go back to middle school. I never actually experienced this, so it may be inaccurate, but imagine imagine the science fair where you have those like poster boards and then you have your little thing. Maybe it's like the classic one I always saw on TV was like the volcano that you would make with whatever it was. So it's kind of like that, but the posters are not made by middle schoolers and they tend to be really cool. So basically, what it is, in all seriousness, is you have this concept that's encapsulated in a poster. So instead of a presentation, you have your information laid out. And what's really cool, what I really like about poster sessions, is that the person representing the poster is right there. So instead of the sage on the stage aspect, you can actually talk to them directly. I've had some really, really fantastic conversations, and you get to participate in the science. Because what I've done at MHS actually is I would go up and say, hey, you have this and this noted down on your poster. Have you considered looking at this thing? And they would be like, oh, that's really cool. Maybe we should look at that later. So it's very, very interactive and very, very cool. And there's lots of like initial data that's often in posters or case series. There were tons at the World Lipedema Congress too. So it's a way to get even more science in to the thing. And I believe Keto Mojo often sponsors, it's either at the Metabolic Health Summit or it's at the other one, the Symposium of Metabolic Health. But either way, and they do that because the poster sessions are so important and add so much value. So anytime there's a poster session at like anything, I'm always like in there looking at all of them and taking pictures and asking questions. So it's really cool.
That's awesome.
Am I sharing my screen?
No, you aren't.
No.
Do you want me to pop that up?
I have the poster and I wanted to put the poster up.
Oh, yeah. Now you're sharing.
Am
now
I sharing?
Can
yeah,
you see
sharing. Can you see the poster?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so this is the poster, and this is actually that Siobhan was with Gabrielle Farber at Potsdam, and we won the best poster for this poster. And this is what Siobhan has submitted also to appear at, let me see if I can put it in slideshow mode. So this is what is at the Metabolic Health Summit. Let's see does that make it bigger?
Oh, that's lovely. Yes.
So it's all about using a ketogenic diet for lipedema and why we think it works. And so this is the actual thing that Siobhan has submitted and people will be looking at tomorrow.
Yeah, and I'm hoping there will be some good interest, because I have been talking about lipedema with the low carb space, but the Metabolic Health Summit is also a lot of researchers and clinicians and stuff like that. So it's another opportunity to kind of introduce, kind of slip lipedema in there and say, hey, by the way, did you know that this is a thing? And also, did you know that ketogenic diets can be useful for management? So I'm just trying to get it to as many different people.
So in these conferences, when they have the virtual feed, are the posters, is the poster session also part of the captured videos, so that people, or is there a way that people can go through and take a look at the posters later?
Yes, so they're all the posters are submitted online so that everybody who's live streaming can see all the posters. But if you are there live, they have a room that has them tacked up on, on the wall. So you can see them both ways.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear you guys talking about the posters, and I'm like, oh yeah. And I've seen pictures of Catherine and Leslyn standing on either side of the poster. Yeah. I've seen the picture of Siobhan in front of the poster, like it's on a rollaway chalkboard.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Corkboard.
And then, but I think so I would have to be a reader. Like I'd have to go in and read and discover and go from poster to poster, because it's like just being in a museum of posters.
Yeah, but at certain times that they will say, okay, now all the authors of the posters will be there with their poster, and you could be with it with your poster virtually, as Siobhan will be. If people come into her room and look at her poster, she can discuss it with them. Or if you're there live, you're standing next to your poster, and then you can discuss it with anybody who walks up.
Yeah, and typically what I'll do, if it's like, okay, I'm kind of interested, I want to know if I want to do all this reading, is sometimes I'll just go up and be like, so tell me about your poster. What are you here to talk about? And usually people have like a 2 to 3 minute pitch where they go over all the information in brief, which is also what I did at Potsdam. And probably what I'll do in the room for this one too is just a quick recap in case you're not a reader, so that it's accessible for everybody, because not everybody has time to read every single poster. So it's helpful to just be like, here's the quick thing. If you're interested, take a picture, read it later.
Well, now I'm even more impressed about us getting the best poster.
Yes.
And that Siobhan presented it off the cuff.
We always have to describe this particular poster as our award-winning poster.
Isn't that nice, though, to be able to be right there in the front of the of this movement?
Yeah.
And that's what excites me about being involved with Lipedema Simplified, is I feel like I'm cutting edge with everybody else, and I don't have a degree of I don't have a science degree. I don't, I'm just a voice. I'm just a voice for the community.
But you're a vital part of that community, and so these types of conferences and events and stuff, it's bringing together people who are patients, clinicians, researchers, people at all different levels and experiences, stuff like that, because they all, in their own little way, are experts, and so everybody has a valid and important contribution.
Right.
Yeah. And we saw that with the cancer panel just now. We had researchers who were talking about it. We were hearing from clinicians who were talking about it. And they had a patient speaker as well who's currently dealing with cancer and navigating that, and talking about all the difficulty, and the difficulty with the medical system, and the difficulty with the mindset. And some of the clinicians and researchers were talking about the importance of, they didn't use the word, but essentially holistic approaches for cancer care, and I think healthcare in general. So it's really cool. It's another thing I like about MHS, is that you do get those 3 different perspectives, and because each one of them has a ton of value. So I really like to hear from all of them.
Yeah, and it really makes me realize that the how important our community is to be so varied, because we get so many different viewpoints that maybe we'll be able to get come up with something more, because sometimes as a patient, we just hear over and over again about a doctor, what the doctors tell us. That's all we get.
Right.
And I know that we had a comment, and I wanted to bring it up, if that's okay with you, Leslyn.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's from Sing It. Sing It's joining us from YouTube, and she says, "Hi, 56, and apparently have had lipedema since 13. Lipedema, the disease they call fat, popped into my YouTube feed. I had no idea all this time, and now it's explained my entire life, especially being keto." So I'm assuming, Sing It, that you have been keto, and now you're finding out that keto has been effective in taking care of you. That's what I'm assuming from what you've written, because her next comment says, "I'm self-diagnosed and afraid to go to my doctor. She won't have a clue." And that's what we're finding out all the time too, right? We're finding out that so many, I wouldn't say so many of us, majority of us do not know that we have lipedema. We find out about it, and our doctors go, "I don't know anything about this," right? And so having these events where we're bringing we're bringing not only lipedema, but we're bringing keto into this world, right? We're bringing it as a team, right? Keto and lipedema together is what we're doing in so many of the low carb community things, that we're trying to make all those doctors aware. And I remember Siobhan saying, in an event that Siobhan and Leslyn were at together, I remember Siobhan saying, you can't unknow this.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some people don't want to hear it because then they will know that they can't unknow it. But and just, talking about these events and stuff that are happening. Well, there's another event happening also today that it's caused me to be flipping screens back and forth, because the Lymphatic Education and Research Network is also having an event today, the Lymphatic Summit, and being hosted by Dr. Stanley Roxon. And it's been going on all day today. And there's been a couple, well, they've all been fabulous speakers, but a couple have been especially of interest to me. And I know to Catherine, who's been watching it also. Dr. Max Itkin from UPenn was talking about how we identify and image thoracic duct obstructions and how we treat them. And then Dr. Zuba from Poland was talking about his study that he did comparing moderate carb to a low carb ketogenic diet and the effect that it has on lipedema. And so actually keto for lipedema was quite a big discussion. But interestingly, you can tell that that the speakers, when they come on, they weren't necessarily listening to the stuff that happened before, because we had a geneticist that came on to talk about the genes associated with lipedema. And she was describing lipedema as completely non-responsive to any diet. Well, we just had a really good presentation about that you must have missed. So it's
to be fair.
Yeah.
To be fair, Leslyn, I've been in that situation.
Yes.
And typically where it's coming from is you're working really, really hard on either rehearsing or finishing your slide deck to where you can't do anything else. It's why I always prefer to speak on the first day of any conference, because then I can actually enjoy the rest of it and pay attention.
Right. And you can watch the stuff. And also, she's really focused on the genetics of it, and she really knows the genetics. And so it's not surprising, because the effectiveness of a ketogenic diet for lipedema is relatively new. We were finding this, there's just been clinical trials, being conducted in the last 5 years. So it's not surprising she didn't know that, but it is, it shows you how cutting edge this is. And just as I left to come on here, Dr. Roxon was talking about a clinical trial that he's doing at Stanford for a drug that they're trialing right now on upper extremity lymphedema, a lot of times breast cancer related. But the results are so promising, and it's shown to be safe, that the FDA has approved him to expand his trials to also lower extremity lymphedema and lipedema, which he has very high hopes that this would be something that would be effective for lipedema. So check that out. It's called the HEAL trial, HEAL, through Stanford with Dr. Roxon. Maybe you qualify and you'd like to be a participant in the trial when he opens it up for lipedema.
Do you know what the target of action for the drug is?
I was not, because I was flipping back from presentation to presentation, I didn't get that, but it's acetabulate, I think is the name of the medication. I'm not entirely sure, but it's something that seemed to address the fibrosis, and the skin thickness was decreasing with use of the medication, but don't hold me on that one. Check it out. I did see lots of comments in that event, and people that are from our lipedema community. You're over there too. So we are everywhere, and we are keeping an eye on all these things that are happening.
So, I was just thinking about this presenter who missed a part of the, so she was saying lipedema is not affected by any dietary measures. And I was listening to Siobhan's background when she first came on before we came on together, and it was talking about how being in ketosis doesn't just like lower our blood glucose and change those things. But now I thought I heard her say it changes our genetic expression. Is that what you heard, Siobhan?
Yeah, I'm not sure because she was talking about a mouse study. There's also a possibility of epigenetic stuff. I know they've talked about like histone expression, which, full transparency, I don't know what that means because I haven't looked into it. But it is possible. But to be fair, I tend to not err too much on the side of genetics as necessarily causal, except for in extreme cases where we have very good evidence of it. Right. I'm more environmental.
Right. And then I was thinking, again, Leslyn, I was thinking, can you imagine if you were doing all of getting your presentation ready, you're ready to go on stage, you're ready to do your thing, and the person in front of you disproves what you're going to put on? Can you even imagine? You would go,
I know.
Oh, combative, right? You would have to just not watch everybody else.
Well, I definitely have followed behind someone who was, talking about a plant-based diet. And so, but
I've seen exactly what you're describing happen, Gail, and I felt really bad for them because it's like, what do you even do? Just like go up, just watch the previous presentation, throw out anything I was going to say, and just leave.
Yeah.
Well, either that, or you're disproving their theories, right?
Yes.
That's where it gets fun. Yeah.
That did happen to me at a previous National Lipedema Network conference that I was presenting with a colleague about using keto and why we were thinking, or early ideas of why we thought keto worked for lipedema. And the presentation that had happened, not directly in front, but a couple of before me, they were talking about a study that they had done a weight loss trial with women with breast cancer related lymphedema, and they all lost weight, but their arm volume didn't go down. And it turns out that in every other study, when they lost weight, their arms would go down in size, but this one it didn't. And they go, we can't figure out why. Well, it turns out that they were using a meal replacement, a well-known meal replacement that I looked up its ingredients online, and it was a high fructose corn syrup was used in that. And there was a fairly well-known mouse study that came out probably 10 years before that showed that high fructose diets can cause such a degree of inflammation in the lymphatics in mice that their transport capacity could be reduced as much as 50%. And so I probably shouldn't have done this, but when I got up to do my presentation, I said, I think I have an idea of why maybe that their arm size didn't go down is because their lymphatics were so inflamed. And I probably shouldn't have done that, but oh well.
There are ways you can do it somewhat professionally, but my favorite moments during presenting is when the people before you actually work synergistically with yours. Better than proving anybody wrong, whatever, is just saying, as so-and-so just discussed, as you just heard, and then you can like skip a couple slides and spend more time on the rest of them. It's like, yes, you did my job for me. I'm so happy.
Very good, yes. Yep.
So,
and we are almost out of time, and I want to make sure that we get to some of the other things that we wanted to talk about. And because one of the cool things was Emmy's Box of Hope, Gail, that you wanted to share about that. Can we pivot and talk about that really quick?
We can. Thank you, Leslyn. And as I was reading the comments, and I was hearing from Sing It, 56 years old, just finding out that she has lipedema. And then I read from Veggie Girl. She couldn't get a diagnosis from her doctor, so she did keto anyway. The Day says, from Michigan, I didn't know the name of the family curse. but everybody in the family had it, and so we have so many people who are just learning about lipedema. And we have a group in our community, with Lipedema Simplified, who get together and they talk about the next steps. And we've been doing a lot of, and this is a group of patients. We do have, other people like Siobhan and Leslyn and Dr. Carmody, Catherine. It's not just all strictly patients or the community of lipedema, but it's other people who have joined with us. And it's called wisdom circles. And we get together and we're like, the question is, what do we know about lipedema, and what do we want seen? What do we want to happen within our lipedema community? And we got it all together. We worked on it for about 8 months, and then we broke off into some smaller groups. The last small group put together something called Emmy's Box of Hope. And Emmy is Lipedema Simplified's flying pig mascot. It stands for Esperanza Milagros, which is Hope and Miracles. And so her name, this is a little flying pig, and so we call it Emmy, and it's Emmy's Box of Hope. I put the link here, and I'll put the link in the comments as well. The Box of Hope is full of resources for the community. It will have postcards that you can print out to give to your clinician. It has links. It has connections to other community members. It has all kinds of information for it. And so I'm giving you guys all this, all of this on this link. It will give you all of this information. So I'm going to copy paste it right now so that you end up with that link as well.
And from what I'm hearing you say, Gail, it sounds like it is perfect for someone who is just now finding out about lipedema, but it is also really good for that person that wants to advocate for lipedema, has been known about it and knows their diagnosis for a long time, but they want material so that they can share about it. It sounds like it's perfect for a lot of people.
It is. And if you take a look at our lower right-hand corner of our screen, it says, learn, connect, belong. Once you get into this, you'll have to go in, you have to take a little quiz because we need to be able to get feedback from you on this. And once you go in there, you will see 3 buttons. One's learn. And so it's full of knowledge because we decided we have to be educated about this, right? And we need to be able to help others become educated. So that's our, not only learn for ourselves, but to advocate for others. Connect to people, right? Make connections. So it's got lots of links in there. And then the third one is belong. Once you get that, belong to a community. And we've discovered that the healthier, the more connected our community is, the more we feel like we belong, the better we do moving forward, doing all of our management skills, and our lives get better. And so Emmy's Box of Hope is a gift that we're giving our community. And please feel free to share it. Share this information that you get from this, and give it to family members, give it to doctors, there might be something in there that you think, oh, I see the same girl on the subway every day. She might need this link as well. So please make sure that you connect with this and that you take this Emmy's Box of Hope and use it. This is a project we have been working on for a year and a half. And it's all been put together by the community. It's not a couple people sitting down going, oh, what does the community need? It's what does the community need? And they tell us, and then they put it together, and it's just been beautiful. So check it out.
And just a quick question, Gail. It looks like you linked the main page of the Lipedema Simplified site. Is there anywhere they need to go in particular to access it?
Okay, so when they click on that link, it will tell them what to do.
Yeah, because it's not. This is not the main page, Siobhan. It is learn.lipedema-simplified.
Yes.
So this is a little bit different. Yes.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So when they click on that link, what happens is then they it'll pop up, and it will tell them exactly what to do, and they'll have to register because they have to be able to give us feedback, and they have to be able to continue to connect with us. So they have to register. Once they register, then everything is right there.
Yeah, so there's a big red button in the middle of that page that it links to that says "Get your free resources now."
Yes.
And if I click that and I register, then I can access. Yeah, I don't know anything about anything. I am a perfect stand-in for anybody else who doesn't know anything about anything.
Well, it's kind of like me and the posters. I don't know.
So, yeah.
So one of the things here that we've discovered, and I love Leslyn and I love Siobhan, I will tell you, you talk over my head sometimes. So far over my head that I can't even reach up and grab it. I mean, I just keep going, it's gone. And it's like a woo-woo, it's awful. But the more I am with you, the more I understand. And I'm
just hanging out,
because,
yes.
Right. Because here's the thing. Do you know how sometimes if someone's speaking a foreign language, every now and then you catch a word you recognize, but you really have no idea what they're talking about, right? So you keep going back because you get immersed in it. And the more immersed in it that you get, the more you understand. And that's over the last 4 years being with Leslyn, and the last 2 years being with Siobhan. I followed Siobhan before she followed me, believe it or not. Anyway, I have learned so much. I mean, and I wouldn't turn that in for anything. So
let me just say, like, being around the Lipedema community has taught me so much. I was just talking to Catherine about, like, I need to write up all this stuff because everything I'm learning from the community gives me really good questions to ask and things that people notice about themselves or notice about different therapies that they're using. Like, it all feeds back into itself where we each have our own focus and then we all learn from each other. And it's the same thing, like I just mentioned with MHS, is you have the clinical perspective, you have the researcher perspective, you have the patient perspective. And the reason it's so important is not just to give the patient some time up on the stage and be like, okay, here you go, pat, pat, now go away. It's like, oh, you're experiencing this, you struggle with this, you have this problem. We have this thing to fix to make sure that we can actually succeed in what we want to do in the first place. And like, the patients help the researchers ask the right questions, because when you don't do that, you can end up repeating the same thing over and over and over again and getting nowhere.
Or going down a rabbit hole that doesn't have any clinical application.
Yeah.
Just because it's so interesting to you as a researcher. And this, what you guys are both commenting about right now kind of brings us to just a really short, I wanted to talk about our April event, because this is exactly how we do our events, that we bring together clinicians, researchers, patients, caregivers, vendors, anybody who's interested in lipedema and lymphedema, and this particular event, nutrition. We bring all those people together to have a discussion. And that's what is very, very unusual about our events. So mark your calendars, April 12th to 14, our next Heart to Heart event is going to be focusing on nutrition, keto and beyond, and going to be talking about the holistic approach to nutrition and augmenting your program to live a better life. So be sure and mark that date and join us for this virtual community event.
Yeah.
But we do have something coming up before that.
Yes.
And,
tell us.
This is very important to have that on your calendar, and I am going to drop that into the comments so that you can go ahead and register now. We are holding an early bird special. I don't know what it is right now, but if you click on that, you will find what the event fees are. But we have coming up in let me see. I wouldn't say next, in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
It's Friday, right?
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Yes.
We have a free webinar, and it's called Unlocking Wellness with Mindfulness, Nutrition, and Fasting. And as we were speaking earlier, some people believe that there's no dietary measure for lipedema.
Mm-hmm.
And our community is finding that there is dietary measures that can help with your lipedema. I'm going to be discussing things about fasting. Siobhan probably will as well. Carrie Reedy, our nutritionist, is going to talk about the nutrition that people find great results with. And of course, we're talking keto, low carb, just diet modifications that really focus on inflammation or possibly just reactions that we have, like, oh, well, guess who's discovered that dairy isn't good for her? Yeah, that would be me. So there's little things that we have done, and our nutritionist will be there to help you start to develop your personal plan. And then also mindfulness, because as you know, we deal with so many negative things, like someone was saying, my doctor's not going to know anything about that, this and that. And so we have to go into places, we have to deal with our whole life every day with being mindful. And so we're going to unlock our wellness with mindfulness, nutrition, and fasting. And that free webinar is on Friday, February 9th. We do not have a link yet. It's 2 weeks away still. And so you will get that link. You'll get that link here. You'll get that link in an email. You'll see it posted all over the place.
Yes. Yeah. So a lot coming up with nutrition coming up in this quarter. And I think also we're going to be focusing a lot throughout the year on pain. So some of the big issues that are facing individuals with lipedema that we hope to continue working on this year. And with that, I'm gonna wrap it up, because we, as usual, we have such a good time hanging out with everybody that we went a little bit long today, but I really appreciate how much everybody was posting your comments as we're talking. We love to know that you're there and to know what you guys are thinking about. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you next Friday.